Welcome to the Smash Jump Podcast, your place for honest and passionate gaming conversations. There's been a bit of a renaissance in video game adaptations in the last few years, from TV shows to movies and even a couple other crossovers. And today, we want to talk all about them, the good, the bad, maybe a little bit of history about how adaptations used to be, and a little look into the future of what adaptations can be. I'm Ashton Lavelle, your host and Smash Jump contributor, and with me are a few awesome people.
Hey, my name's Gabe. I'm the editor-in-chief and owner of Smash Jump.
I'm Nicole. I'm a Smash Jump contributor.
And I'm Ben, also a Smash Jump contributor.
Again, I feel like every episode we have a new person on to just like fill out the roster here. But today we are bringing on Ben, newly on Smash Jump here. And I'm curious to know, we got to get, us even here, right here on this podcast, but the audience especially. So need to get to know you, Ben, as a person a little bit, and especially your taste in games. So the best way to do that is to let us know what you've been playing. So what you've been playing recently?
What have I been playing? I very much am the kind of person that just jumps about different games. I can never settle on one to actually play. So recently it's been a lot of the new update for No Man's Sky, a lot of the latest season for Diablo 4.
Okay.
And then a bit retro as well. I've been playing a bit of Indiana Jones Staff of Kings because the new one's not out on PlayStation yet. So gotta get that indie fix where I can.
Oh, you're a PlayStation boy.
It's
fine.
You're alone here, Nicole. You're all alone.
Yes, you're alone.
I did used to be an Xbox guy, and then my Microsoft account got banned.
Oh no!
During the
I don't want to ask
update.
what you did.
Yeah, no, I didn't do anything. It was a security update where they you had to like re-sign into their security features, and because I'd only ever used that account for my Xbox, I'd never sent an email, never made any folders. I couldn't physically go through their automated process to sign up for the new security features, and it just locked me out my account forever.
My dad had the same thing. That's pretty sad. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something that happens to you guys.
Yeah.
It's because we run we run Outlook is run by Microsoft and everything. So when you make the email to sign up to there, it's all just a bit. Yeah, well, I've had the same email since 2002 as a result. So
yeah,
so I never lose it.
Yeah,
I used to be an Xbox person as well. Now I'm just an overall like I play on anything.
Oh, good. That's what I want to hear.
Never been.
No, I sit here and talk about Xbox like you're all my enemy. No, Xbox has done a lot of silly things. So.
Yeah, no, the whole Xbox One, even though none of that came true, all that like Xbox One like features, I still had dial-up when it launched. So
wow. Yeah, that wasn't gonna work.
No,
that wasn't gonna work.
The things that they wanted to do would just entirely make it impossible for me to continue to be on Xbox.
Yeah.
So we just
You're telling me you didn't want to always be online to play your single player offline game and also have your Kinect stare at you and listen to you all day, every day?
Oh, see, I didn't care about that.
I mean, that's what Alexas do nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go next because unlike basically every episode, I actually have things that I played.
Let's go!
Wow, what happened?
So like I took a vacation from my day job. So like I actually got to play some games. I played Sims 2 Legacy Collection because like I don't know if anyone knows this, but I actually really like Sims.
You mentioned it briefly before. Yeah, who doesn't like Sims? It's fun to have a family.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also played TCG Card Shop Simulator.
Oh, I've seen you on that.
Yeah. I have played like 9 hours of it, which for me is quite a bit. I literally like played it until like 5 in the morning.
Oh shit.
So yeah,
it must be good then. Must be good.
Although my parents were like, so you took a vacation from retail to play a game that is retail, because in the entire game loop is stocking shelves and ringing out customers. So Yeah, no, that's fair.
Fun to do it when you don't have to do it. You know what I mean?
Well,
when it's
exactly.
like you don't have to physically move. Different.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's skills to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. Damn. Comparatively, usually I'm the one who's got like way too many things to say about what I've been playing, and I actually haven't really been playing anything except I played one new thing recently, and that was Citizen Sleeper 1, because I saw 2 come out on Game Pass, and I was like, oh, I'll go play 1, and boy, did I go through a lot of emotions. I finished it all in like one day. Took me like 10 hours. Cause straight, I didn't do anything else. Yeah, I went through it, and I played it all, played the DLC. I think I'm missing 3 achievements. I'm gonna go back 100% it and then play Citizen Sleeper 2. But that was really good. I've never played a game like it before, to be honest, and I'm realizing that as I get older, I thought I'd already kind of unlocked the tapestry of all the games I'll ever play, kind of thing, being like, I'm only gonna play these genres forever. But then I keep finding new genres that I like. I never knew that deck building would be my obsession. So yeah, and I haven't touched Balatro in a couple of weeks, so I need to jump back in at some point. But yeah,
Fair.
The revolving door of just playing a lot of video games and then dropping off them, going on new ones. It's like a whole cycle, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I should probably just like rotating a bunch of games and then forgetting you have them. I should probably play TCG Card Shop Simulator at some point, given my affinity for card games, and then also like going to a card shop every week on Thursdays. Like it's like a thing I do. I don't own a card shop, but that sounds like hell.
Yeah,
but maybe I should give it a try at some point. But unfortunately, don't have it yet. But I have been playing recently. It is a little while ago at this point, but I did go ahead and finish Neo 1 again. This is my second time finishing the first Neo game. This time with all the DLCs, because the first time I played it, I did not have the DLCs. What a fantastic game. I know people have sort of... Neo's a weird game in how popular they are in terms of a Souls-like, but also how little info there is about them out and about. Like if you go to like a Dark Souls wiki, right, and you try to look up information on where do I get X thing, it's very easy to do that. Like people will put a marker on a map and be like, it's right here, go do this thing, and a whole thing. Neo's not like that. There's a lot of things in Neo that if you go to like a wiki or anything like that is barren. There's like no information, and I always find that weird. So Neo's kind of, I guess it's just not as popular as I thought it did, but it's a fantastic game. Got one of the best combat systems I've ever played, and great equipment system. But I think I've gushed about Neo before on this podcast. What I do want to talk about is this tiny little game called On Guard. Have any of y'all heard of On Guard before?
No.
So it's a really short, small indie game, and it's kind of a Souls-like. I'd consider it a Souls-like, but it's very much about... It's so much more about how you play with the environment than it is like pure skill-based gameplay. It is developed by Fireplace Games, who I'm looking to see here. I'm trying to see what else they've done. It looks like... Did they do this game? I'm going to see if they did. No, they didn't do this one. I'm not sure what other games they've done, but it's about 4 hours. It is a Spanish-inspired world. It looks very Pixar-y in terms of like the art style. It's very colorful, very soft, like that kind of thing. But essentially, the gameplay loop is you go into a room, you've got a little rapier, you stab some people, you do some parries and stuff, but then around you is like tables and jugs of like drink and lanterns and this other stuff, and your whole goal is that you use that stuff around in your environment to like you kick the table at people, you kick a box at somebody's head, you throw a teapot at their head, you throw a bucket onto their head, and while you're doing all that, you're trying to essentially puzzle out the best way to handle each encounter, because you'll have like guys that are really big, and so you have to whittle them down first, and then you kick them down a flight of stairs, and then they get stunned, and you go and kill them, right? Or you've got a group of people that are coming towards you, you put the table between you, and then you kick it at them, and they all fall down. Like it's that kind of thing, and it's really neat. There's not... The one problem I have with it is there's not really anything else. Like it's 4 hours of that. Like there's like a little bit of like platforming-ish stuff, some slight puzzles to get around the environment, but there's no equipment, there's no money, there's no collectibles. It is pure just that kind of gameplay. But it is only 4 hours, so it's pretty quick to get through. But it's a really nice like experimental game to play around and try with, and it usually goes pretty cheap. So if that sounds interesting to any of you guys, I actually found it from a Iron Pineapple video, one of his like dumpster diving, just trying out a bunch of different Souls-like per video. So if that sounds interesting to any of you, I definitely recommend giving it a shot because it's pretty fun doing like just trying to map out how you're going to handle each encounter. It's a ton of fun just like chucking a teapot at somebody's head. They bonk and then you go run and kick a table at them. It's it never gets old.
That sounds like that, so I'm always looking for new games to try and like enjoy, and I'm such a big Soulsborne person now that it's really interesting to have something kind of add a bit of a not a puzzle element, but almost like a puzzle element, like adding that extra little layer to it. That sounds really cool. I do want to check that out. That sounds just up my alley.
It's just funny. It's so funny. You kick somebody into water, and it's just they have like little banter as they're going down. There's a section. This will give you kind of the humor of the game. There's a section where you're getting the tutorial that you can kick people in water, and the premise is that a bunch of the guards were told that if they let themselves get kicked in the water, they'll get like $50. So they all just stand on the side of the pier, and they're like, "She won't do it. You can't kick me in the water." And you just blah. And then they're like, but I get money anyway. And then they just go off. Like nobody actually dies in the game. They just like fall over and then yell at the lady for doing what she did.
Amazing. I love that.
Brilliant.
That's fantastic.
Really charming.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so before we get into the actual topic, I just want to toss like a little bit of like just general news that happened, and that being the PlayStation Network was out for like basically almost like 24 hours.
I've never been so happy to be an Xbox person. I was sitting there like having my own little laugh over here.
Yeah, no, literally it was like what was it? It was it happened in like 6 p.m. EST, and it was like wild to see because normally if those outages happen, it's like an hour, 2 hours, but like it was almost 24 hours, and all we got at the end was just like, yeah, it's back up now. Yeah, cool.
Very helpful.
It seemed very sus, didn't it?
It did.
I remember people being wondering about that.
I am the type of person who's kind of worried that it is going to be just like not in a smaller scale, but similar to the 2011 hack that they suffered, because an outage for that period of time is kind of wild nowadays for it not to have been something huge, because there could have been a malfunction with a server, there could have been something that happened that would have caused it to go down for a brief period of time, but like I don't know, like there's no evidence of it being an actual like hack or anything like that. This is just personal opinion, speculation. It just seems like it was way too long for it to have been a simple hack, especially with them seemingly going through and trying to fix it the entire time. Based on just assuming.
And we know the history of PlayStation. They've been hacked before. I remember the Lizard Squad.
I was going to say the Lizard Squad. I remember Christmas
Day,
was
all the kids
ruined.
Getting their PlayStations. They couldn't play Call of Duty because Lizard Squad.
It happened with Xbox.
The whole
day.
Well.
They came from Microsoft too. It was bad.
It was like a whole day. It was crazy.
Yeah, no, well, like in 2011, I don't know if anyone knows about this situation where there was like this massive hack that happened. It took out the service for 24 days. And
24 days?
Was that the one where they gave people free games afterward?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And
I heard about that.
I remember claiming those. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was like 24 days. And it was like, I want to say 77 million or so accounts got breached. And that people are concerned that it's that, but probably in a smaller scale due to them being able to get it fixed nearing the 24-hour mark. But like the fact that they're just like, yeah, it's good now is kind of like,
change your passwords, y'all.
Yeah.
No biggie.
Yeah.
Change your passwords.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like,
very coy about it.
That I like people don't like Sony for that fact of how dubiously secure they are when it comes to PlayStation. Like, I admit that, and this is coming from someone who is a big PlayStation fan. They're very dubious when it comes to how secure they are.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm not a hater of any platform, and as an overall gamer, I think that it does just suck for anyone at any time to not be able to get into their game, because also like a lot of people, it's like it's the security thing, but it's also just a lot of people need that kind of unwinding, and they need a place to go. They have plans based around it, and so it's actually just like really screwing over so many people when any of that stuff happens.
Exactly.
I guess they were spending too much money on all of their extra stuff like movies and TV shows.
Yes.
Which
for the whole 3 people that watch it.
Well, yeah.
Well, dependent. Hey, Last of Us, because that leads us into our main topic today.
Yep.
Which is video game adaptations as a whole. Obviously, Sony has had a pretty big hand in that recently. They've got their hands in a couple different pots at this point. But video game adaptations, I would say they've been in pretty much, I would call it a renaissance or like a revival, right? Like, we've had video game adaptations for a long time, but they've always been just straight garbage. Like, absolute trash. Like, there's very rarely anything redeemable.
Straight up garbage.
Literally just garbage. But nowadays, we're getting some really, really good stuff. So we thought it'd be a good time to go ahead and do a show about video game adaptations and just kind of talk all about them, what they were kind of like before, for those of you who may be watching this and didn't get to experience maybe the old school adaptations that were less than a Sonic 1, 2, and 3, right?
I've burned them from my mind. That they're in there somewhere sprinkled, and I want to forget.
I mean, to be fair, same.
And for a lot of you watching as well, we're probably going to bring up some names here that might jog some memories to you too. So I want to start off by talking about video game adaptations from a historical perspective and how they used to be, right? Because there's a lot of them. Obviously, we don't want to talk about all of them, but like the history of video game adaptations is wild, especially if you think about live action, because I think that's where most people, first straight jump to. And I think the sort of OG, or like the earliest one that I can really, really think of that was a big deal, was that old 1990s Super Mario Bros. Live action.
I knew you were going to say that. I was thinking, I was like, don't say
it. I'm actually pretty sure that was the actual first.
I'm
pretty sure that was the actual first like video game adaptation. And like, I'll talk about it later, but I have a theory of why, adaptations have gotten better.
I'll be interested to hear that for sure. So obviously, I mean, look, some people are going to say that there's redeeming qualities to Super Mario Bros. Movie because it is so out there in how it translates Mario's premise to live action. And it's so weird. It's so... surprisingly enough, if you go and you look at a screenshot of the Super Mario Brothers movie, like especially when they do panning shots of like the cities and stuff that are in there, it honestly looks pretty sick. Like it kind of gives you that like almost Blade Runner vibe, like the old Batman movies from like the 80s, and like the way that it all looks gothic and neon and shit. Like that stuff looks really, really cool. And you're like, wow, they had an artistic vision for this thing. But then you watch it and you're like, why does Bowser look like a white dude with like pointy blonde hair, and why do the Koopas look like that and they're wearing a suit, and like what is happening? And it's so bad. And it's like, it's one of those adaptations that's like, you look at it and you're like, okay, Mario and Luigi, I can kind of see them. Like I can see that Mario and Luigi. But then you look at, if you just show a screenshot of like Bowser, you're like, who the fuck is that? Like, who is that? I don't know who that is. I've never seen this man in my life. So I want to dive into the idea of how accurate a video game adaptation kind of needs to be, because Mario Brothers movie is a perfect example of like there's some parts in it that aren't too bad, like the way Mario and Luigi look. Like obviously they can't look like exactly they do in the games because that's just not human proportions if you're doing live action. But at least they have like red on and like green. That's not hard to figure out.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
And at least they're Italian, I guess. But like
the
rest of it,
some of the features,
the rest of it isn't, right? So I'm wondering if you guys, like, when we think about other adaptations, books and stuff like that, it's quite often the case that a lot gets changed to better fit the medium that it's adapting into. So books usually cut a lot or change a lot about how sequences work out to better fit into the better fit into the movie itself and the runtime. So I'm kind of curious about your guys' take on that, but for video games. Like, how much should a video game be accurate to the source material? Do you think it's better for it to adapt the story that already exists, or should they do their own thing? What do you guys think about that in general? And like, what kind of, how are you feeling about the best kind of adaptations that you've seen, and how you think that companies and directors of stuff should be adapting video games to have the best chance of succeeding?
I have a pretty no, Ben, you go first. I've got a pretty crazy opinion in a minute, so you go first.
I was just gonna say, I think video game adaptations from the kind of early period of them, like your Mario Brothers, your Uwe Boll, mid 2000 films, I think they're indicative of an era where companies wanted to get those games out there. They wanted to adapt them. They understood the monetary value for doing so, but at the same time, they were afraid of committing to what needed to be committed to actually do a good adaptation. It's like the Mario Brothers is a perfect example of it. It's getting the name out there, using the IP, but not wanting to commit fully to doing what needs to be done. They don't want to commit to having Bowser as Bowser. They don't want to commit to having the Koopas as Koopas, because as much as they want to make money off of the IP, they don't know if audiences are going to actually care enough, or they want to care enough to actually get involved. And I think that's where things have got a lot better. There's a lot more care, and there's a lot more, the people that are making stuff now actually have that investment in them, and they want to do it right. I think that's a massive difference to how it used to be.
Yeah, I feel like they just hire people that didn't really have any interest in that thing and wanted to make some sort of odd, weird, mangled, put together thing of that. And I agree. I would say that for me here, when it comes to the adaptation situation, so I enjoyed the Tomb Raider films with Angelina Jolie. They were fun. Tomb Raider's pretty simple. I hate to say it like this, but she's hot. She goes around. She kicks ass. She gets stuff. She goes home with it. She raids tombs. That early 2000s, late 90s kind of mindset around that. It was the perfect advertising model. You've got Angelina Jolie in there, and it's not really focusing too much on making a fantastic story. But I do think those were all right for that period. I feel like for me mentally, they were the only decent films that I saw that were adaptations at the time, and they were pretty mid but fun. But I think that with a lot of adaptations, they're not entirely necessary for me. I feel that it's kind of like when people say the book is better than the movie or the show, because you lose details and you lose things, as Ashton was saying. And I think that with games, you're already kind of getting the story, and you're already getting it on screen, and you're getting a more immersive experience where you're often part of the journey. So often so The Last of Us is a show I really enjoyed. However, my only issue is that they did nothing new. They just copied what the game had already done. So they're not really bringing anything new to the table, except it's good for broadening the audience, because not everyone is a gamer, so that's cool. But if you look at the Halo TV show, it's they
Halo TV is so bad.
It's so bad. I tried to ignore it. I was like, look, I can enjoy it if I just ignore everything I like about Halo, which is everything. I don't see the point in adapting something like that in such a pointless way. To me it was so pointless. There are certain things that just and there's apparently still a BioShock adaptation happening that's been in the rumor mill forever by Netflix or whoever. I could not care less about a Bioshock film. I don't mean that in like a, like I don't want them to succeed. They can do their thing, and people who watch film and TV can enjoy it. I just feel I had such an incredible experience making these discoveries myself in these games, really immersed, that watching it again, it's not going to be as good as that experience. So I'm just like, hey, you do you. And if other people enjoy it, they enjoy it, but it's not for me.
Yeah.
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 That's kind of my shebang.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like one of the bigger things when it comes to adapting that I've seen, like I generally speaking liked what I saw when it came to the Last of Us TV show, but it wasn't necessarily like great. But then again, I'm also not necessarily the biggest Last of Us fan. Not that it's bad. I haven't played the second one. I don't really plan to. Uh,
I like how honest you are.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm a big
literally,
PlayStation fan. Hasn't played
I
Last
wasn't
of
a
Us
huge
2.
fan of it either.
I just don't care about how much they milk it. But yeah, no, like I generally speaking liked the what I saw of the Last of Us TV show. But yeah, it is just basically the same story beats. And like I think that they try to do enough. Like they try to deviate a bit or give more depth to it with at least the first episode. They tried to give more depth by, expanding on the things that happened prior to the actual events of the game. But the problem is that that's just not necessarily enough in how much they did it. So like it either ended up feeling like too faithful to the point that like what's the point of playing the games, and that's just what happens with a lot of the adaptations, or not faithful enough where it's just like this could have been just a new IP.
I think that's where the Fallout series did so well as well.
100%.
It has a lot of connection to the games, and obviously it is an official sequel to the games. It's a sequel to Fallout 4, but it does enough of its own stuff in the world that you're not retreading what the games have done before. Yeah. It's something new, it's different, and it's unique to the space of Adaptations because it is a sequel and it continues the story. And then the next season will be continuing the story of New Vegas.
There's something new for everyone in the Fallout show.
Yeah,
that's why it's so good.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. It is. Go ahead. Was that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Yeah, no, exactly. Because that's just kind of what I think that's what the bigger problem was with the Super Mario Bros. Original movie was they were scared to do what they had to do to make it a successful adaptation. But at the same time, you also have to consider like one of the bigger things of like considering when it came to making the movie, or at least I assume so, was it going to make that money back? Was there enough of an audience that would actually go and see the movie to make that money back? And that's why I think that they went the route of kind of making Bowser into more of a like, okay, whatever, a generic character. They didn't want to go all out in the costume design to make it look like it was, a Mario tied thing, because
you're talking about the OG, the old one.
Yes, the old one.
Yeah.
The old one. They didn't want to.
We have to make that distinction nowadays. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, that's true. Yeah. The original, like
the live action one.
Yes, the live action Mario Bros. Movie. I don't think they wanted to go all out in making it something that was too closely tied to that, because guess what? Maybe people won't see it. Because how many people actually were invested in Mario enough to think, I'm going to go see this movie at that time? Like now, it's easier because the people who grew up on Mario are grown enough to actually, go and see movies and like not have to kind of. Their target demographic was also very weird. I could not tell what type of age group they were trying to go for with that one.
Yeah. Because if you look at the sales numbers right now, right? You would think, in the modern day, anything that has a Super Mario name slapped on top of it, it's gonna sell like hotcakes, right?
Yes.
Same thing happens with like Pokemon and stuff. But in 93 when that movie came out, by the end of its runtime, in theaters and beyond, Super Mario Bros. The old movie only made 38.9 million on a budget of either 42 to 48. So it lost money, which I wonder. It has to be a mix of A, the time period,
yes,
and then also B, the fact that like it was so weird and so not Mario that it probably like drove Mario fans away more than it brought them in. And it kind of felt like they made a movie that was for people who haven't played Mario rather than people who do like Mario. And I wonder if that part is the problem, because if your target audience is somebody who doesn't give a fuck about Mario, right? If you slap Super Mario Bros. On the title, the odds of them being like, oh, well, now I will go see it are probably pretty low because they already don't care. What is making a movie about it make them care, right? It's not going to make them care. So I guess that actually leads me to a question that I've been thinking about as y'all were talking, and that's, who should video game adaptations be made for? Should they be made for the gamer to bring them in, the fans who already like it? Or should they be made for the new audience, predominantly to try to bring new people in? Because sure, you can have a mix and whatnot, but I would say, using Last of Us as an example, it's kind of weird, right? Because it's so faithful to the original with, its minor changes, that it feels like it's trying to, bring in, the same people who already liked it. But at the same time, it got so big that it definitely brought in a whole new audience to it that had never seen before and never knew that video games could have that kind of story before. And for me, just speaking on a personal level, I watched up to the Bill stuff. And I will say the main reason why I stopped is just because I kind of got, lost. I kind of got, it got away from me a little bit in terms of I started doing other things. But the best parts about it for me were the stuff that Gabe mentioned, where it's the beginning, where they expand upon how the infection started, and the Bill stuff where we get to see his life before we meet him in the game, and it's really, heartfelt and touching and stuff. And everything that's actually about the games, and we're seeing the stuff from the games that we played just play out on television, didn't really work for me. I didn't care about it. I was like, I've seen this story before, but better. And that's kind of my problem, is I've seen it, but better. Like, I saw the clip of this very climactic scene, spoilers for Last of Us 1 and the show, I guess.
4:9 cut version with all the spoilers. You can join our Patreon.
So I would say that Last of Us as a show targeted more the outside audience to try to bring them in rather than trying to bring the gamer audience in. And it clearly worked for them. But I wonder what you guys think about in contrast with what Ben said, the Fallout show, where it felt like that was a nice mix of the two, because if you don't know anything about Fallout, you could watch it and still get everything you need to know. But if you're a big fan of Fallout, there's a lot of Easter eggs in there. There's a lot of cool stuff in there with how they adapt everything to look just like the games. But it's a new story, so it still brings in new people and expands on the lore of the game. So it brings somebody like me in, who's a big Fallout fan, because there's more to see there than just the story that I've already seen from 3, New Vegas, or 4, right? So I'm curious what you guys think on what's better. If you're going to make a video game adaptation today, should you focus more on trying to bring in the fan audience that already exists, or trying to bring in new people to become fans?
I think especially for me, there's a good balance. But I think one of the most important things at the very beginning of any process that they should have done with Halo is respect your audience, your initial audience. Like, if it wasn't for the Halo fans, then a Halo TV show wouldn't even be a possibility. So you got to respect them by trying to come up with something that will be fulfilling and enjoying to everyone, but especially them. It's why I had a problem with them doing the Master Chief story, because Master Chief's kind of boring. That's the whole point of his character. He is just an empty suit for you to be. You're supposed to experience, you can experience the story through the game, but they could just copy and paste that and do it as a TV show, kind of like The Last of Us did. Or they could have expanded it, done a whole new story, incorporated the Halo Ring storyline, but put it with other people, and then in the end make it a balance for new and old. Because Fallout and The Last of Us are great because I'm able to show people who, friends and family I care about who, what I like. I'm like, oh, these are the games I enjoy, but you're not a gamer. So here is a way for you to enjoy these amazing stories in another way that's more accessible to you. So like my nan, I made her watch Fallout over Christmas. She doesn't play games. But I was just like, hey, for Christmas, we'll watch Fallout as a family. And she was like, this is too violent in her very thick Spanish accent. And I was just like, just cover your eyes, we'll tell you when the violence is over, and then you carry on enjoying the story. But it's nice that it's accessible to different people. I think that there's a really nice balance that I love as a fan. I do think that what different games mean different things, so like The Last of Us, you could make another story in there, but the Joel and Ellie magic is something they wanted to capture, so following the story made sense. So to me, that's kind of more of a thing for like newer people to enjoy, and people like us to sit there and be like, hey, isn't that cool? Yeah, I played that was great, stuff like that. But I think there is a balance to be had there, and I think Fallout is probably, for me, the most perfect adaptation I have ever seen, because it does it so beautifully. That's just me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Like, I think that one of the bigger things when it comes to adaptations is trying to know the audience you're trying to go for. And there is always going to be people who are going to like it because it's tied to something they already like. But like The Last of Us, as just, again, it's a great example. One of the other things I think that also needs to be noted is there enough of something to make it into an adaptation? Because like I'll use something that like I actually remembered while recording this podcast right now: the Assassin's Creed live action movie.
Forgot it existed. Don't talk to me.
Bring it up at some point in the future, but oh my god, it's so bad.
Yeah, it is. I'm like, he could have done so many things, and I think that one of the weirdest decisions for that was not following the story enough. But then again, like, what wasn't its like producer and director the same person, and wasn't it like one of the lead actors was also him? Like,
possibly.
It was like wild to me. I was like, okay, like you had so much you could have gone off of, and even then, like making your own story is fine, but they turned so much out of that I'm like, why? Why is the animus?
Yeah, Michael Fassbender was the lead on that, and he also like helped produce it. Just from quick look at Wikipedia here, which that is weird. That is like, I mean, I don't know how common that is in movies, but it feels weird.
I've seen it happen a lot with TV and film. They often they don't have the budget they need, so they get them to be a producer on it.
But like in that same vein, like normally, I guess going into an example of someone who's like that's common, Adam Sandler, like he is often a lead for movies that he also produces, but like at least with him, they actually try. Michael Fassbender and like the Assassin's Creed movie, it's almost like they got like a non-gamer to explain what Assassin's Creed is. And they described like, oh yeah, they learn how to do these things through this machine called the Animus, and they didn't describe that it's something that they lay down on.
Yeah, so that was weird. Like, it like grabbed him, right, and lifted him, and I was like, where's the lie down? Bleeding effect. Go to sleep for a bit, wake up inside your ancestor's body. Yeah.
That's how the Assassin's Creed games worked. It was
already alienating people by doing something so bizarre.
It's missing a core element of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, why did you change it so much? And what's funny is like, after initially watching it, I liked it, and then like 2 days later I realized this is horrible.
I remember leaving that theater and I was like falling asleep, man. It was a snore fest to me.
I got it on on DVD, and my friend who lived in the States, she was coming to visit me for the first time. We were meeting up after like 8 years of gaming together. And so we're such big Assassin's Creed fans, or were at the time, that we were like, oh yeah, like I'll get on DVD, we'll watch it together. We watched it as a family, like like my boyfriend and my grandmother, because that's my living situation. We were all watching it, and I think we all fell asleep. And we were like, wow, what was that?
No.
That was just nothing
power
close.
of a great movie.
Rewatching it, no, it was such a boring movie. Like, there were good moments, generally speaking, until there weren't.
It's like Michael Fassbender's a good actor.
Yeah, he is. Wasted
he can't carry a whole, like, he can't save it. He wasn't going to be able to save it.
No.
It was terrible.
I feel like this is one of those adaptations where I would have been like, and I don't like doing this because it feels cheap. Like, I like that they went with a different route and tried to do something different within that universe. But I would have been more like, no. Just get me Altair or get me Ezio and just do that and I'll be happier. Like, that would have been better. And that's, to me, more the lazy option because you're just copying and pasting.
Yeah.
But I would have preferred that.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I think Assassin's Creed is a great example of an adaptation that's been done for the sake of adaptation.
Yeah.
It's not been done with any care or thought, where like Fallout had Todd Howard and Bethesda being really heavily involved because they wanted to make a product that was great, And I think for me, for me, there is that balance between going for an audience that's established and going for new. And I think I'd probably slightly lean towards going to actually a new crowd. And I think it's important to introduce new people to mediums that we love, introduce new people to gaming and to the stories that can be told, because video games is a crazy powerful storytelling device. But I think that's better done through engaging people in the world and the universe rather than being, here's the story we told, do you like it? Go play it. Getting involved in the universe is far better. Yeah, it does.
It's a spoiler. I would hate to be like have everything spoiled for me. Like The Last of Us, I want so many people that I know to go and like play it, but they're not because they're not gamers. So this is the best we're gonna get. But they're, like Fallout isn't really gonna ruin everything. The only thing it's gonna ruin is that it's all like one big experimentation. It's everyone's just messing with everyone. The shelters are all a bad place. And my friend didn't like. So my best friend, she had no idea that it was a very bad place to be. She thought, oh, Fallout shelter, that's good, and then she gets to a point where she's like, wait, and I was like, exactly. And that was fun because when you start Fallout, and you go into every game knowing, based on history of the games, that it's going to be bad in there. Something's gone bad somewhere for someone in every shelter, and it's fun finding those shelters. So for someone who has no idea, it's such a fresh, fun perspective. I was sitting there like watching my friend being like, is she gonna get it? It's nice.
It's a great experience to share.
Yeah.
And I think the part of the problem is condensing a 30, 40, 50-hour story down into an hour and a half or 10 hours. You can't convey that same scope.
No. But again, Fallout did it so well.
So. And I think y'all are hitting on a point that I think we could probably all agree on. It feels like when those older movies were coming out, I think it's fair to say, and I don't have empirical evidence, but it's fair to say that a lot of those films were made with just bigwigs in executive offices finding that X game is successful, let's try to cash in on it. And so they just make something, they don't care how good it really is, they just put it out and hope it makes money. But nowadays, I think a lot of people who grew up with these video games and who love them are now finding themselves in these positions, making movies and making shows and stuff, and have a lot more push and pull and a lot more weight behind their voice to say, hey, no, we should do it this way because that's how you're going to make it good and make it successful. And we're seeing video game adaptations really take off now. Like, you still got your stinkers. Like, Uncharted wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great either. Like
Tomb Raider, ironically,
terrible. Monster Hunter,
Tomb Raider. I think the actress is actually partners with Michael Fassbender, and I think they actually were both kind of working on their gaming projects at a similar time.
Oh wow!
So I was like, what a weird coincidence. One was doing Assassin's Creed, one was doing Tomb Raider, and I much prefer Tomb Raider, even though to me I preferred the Angelina Jolie ones because they were more of the fun camp Tomb Raider stuff that I was used to. So
no, that's what I was like kind of acknowledging is like I'll talk about it later. But yeah, no, it's the people that grew up with gaming or the people that actually got into gaming are now in a position where they can go up and be like, hey, I want to make this movie. Or additionally, there's people like I actually have a little bit of faith when it comes to the Legend of Zelda live action movie because it still has people that is working on those games who are also tied to it. Now, how involved they are, I don't know, but with the the Mario Bros movie, the animated one being so successful because it actually was good, like you have that like, oh well, is an actually like good adaptation because they actually have people that are involved in the game working on it as opposed to the older ones where it was just people that weren't actually that invested in gaming. They maybe like were handed it for like an hour or two and were told, play this. And this is the game. All right, perfect.
Yeah, I don't know how all of you feel about it. I think the Super Mario Bros. Movie has sort of a mixed reputation. Obviously, it was incredibly successful and insanely successful, but I really liked it. I liked it a lot. Like I don't know what people were really expecting when they went into it, but like I had a really good time with it, and I thought it was a pretty solid, like fun Mario movie that hit all the like nostalgic beats that I wanted it to, and like it's not exactly the deepest story, it's Mario, like go fight Bowser who kidnapped your girlfriend, like it's not that hard. It's more about bringing the world into a colorful new style and stuff like that. And I honestly, as much as it's a meme and there's some bits of it that definitely take me out, like having Chris Pratt as Mario wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. Like it was fine. Like it actually, I kind of forgot after a while. There were some moments where I'm like, oh, that's just Chris Pratt. Like I'm listening to Chris Pratt coming out of Mario's mouth. But for the most part, like I kind of just forgot about it and was able to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
The question is like the thing with the Zelda movie that I'm very curious about is Zelda is a different beast, right? Like Mario is just colorful, jump, happy, wahoo. It fits really well into a animated kid style movie that doesn't have to take itself too seriously. But Zelda can go in a lot of different directions, and Zelda I feel like takes itself and people take it way more seriously as something that it gets held up as like some of the titans of great epic games ever, And so I worry a bit about how that will all play out with like we've already seen Mario is going to talk. He talks in the Super Mario Brothers movie. He's going to talk in the next one. I assume Link's going to talk too.
Yeah,
and that's going to be a hard sell for people, I think. And I wonder with Mario, the story's never really that important. Obviously, it's pretty much the same basic concept, just lets you play the game. But Zelda's different. Every Zelda game, the story is pretty important to how it plays out. And so I'm curious on what you guys think would be better. Do you think the Zelda movie should adapt an existing Zelda game, or should they try to come up with something a little different?
I think that they should try something different. More or less split a timeline. Like they can introduce elements of one of their games. Like if they wanted to adapt, let's say, Ocarina of Time, but make it clear that this isn't necessarily the Ocarina of Time, then that's fine. But like like that's why I say I only have like some faith in it. I'm not saying that it's going to be good because like first off, I don't even know whether I'm going to even watch it because I basically only watch animation. But also, um, like I don't know because like first off, we don't really know the casting. Um, but like they have backing, but I am a little bit worried that it's Sony, but who's co-financing it. But yeah, I don't know. It's depends on who they want to target. And I think that they want to target a slightly more general audience than specifically Zelda fans.
Yeah.
I guess that's
and there's
the
already
question,
been
right?
a bad adaptation of Zelda.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Do you mean the cartoon?
The 80s TV cartoon, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a Mario version of that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as it's not
Best.
as long as it's not going to have that a similar voice to that. I just honestly
Of
I
course,
want Link to
definitely
just
not.
I just want Link to sound
it's
like a
Chris Pratt.
regular person if
It will definitely be Chris Pratt. We all know it's gonna be Chris Pratt. It's gonna
Of
be
course
Chris
it should
Pratt.
be. Who else
It's
did
gonna
you
be like,
get?
whoa, the Master Sword. Like it's gonna be going nuts.
Tom Holland.
Oh God,
Oh
just bring him
gosh.
in. Sony.
Yeah, they could do it.
You
They
know.
got the
Yeah.
money.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like
Uncharted,
Tom
Spider-Man,
Holland,
go,
I
go, go.
suppose.
I think
Yeah.
if the Zelda movie goes through, do we know if it's live action or if they've said it's animated?
It's
Do
live
we know anything
action.
about that? Okay,
It's live action. Yeah.
that's the problem for me. Is I wonder because I think Zelda might work better as an animated thing, taking inspiration from like
Absolutely.
either Wind Waker or Link's
Yeah.
Awakening, the remake with how chibi it looks and stuff. I think live action just it puts way a lot more of a I don't know what you would call it, like seriousness to it, to where it's a little bit harder to forgive like glaring flaws and forgive maybe some lackadaisical storytelling and weird beats that they might put into the movie because it's live action and it's probably going to take itself
Mhm.
pretty seriously. And I think that might be a problem, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I definitely think if they're doing live action, they definitely need to do their own story. But given how the Mario Bros. Movie was, I wonder if it will just be some kind of offshoot of Ocarina, just given that that's the big one,
Mhm.
or if they'll just use like the first game's basic story as like a template to do something crazy, and if it will just kind of be like a vessel to show the world of Hyrule to a general audience rather than
Yeah.
really try to hit on something special. Like I'm a little worried about it. I got to be honest. I'm a little worried
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
because I don't think it's gonna be like how the Mario Bros. Movie was. Well, technically, both of them were the same one, where it was basically just an isekai. Like, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't think it's gonna be like that. I think that's literally just gonna be you're just gonna see Link. Like, it's just gonna not be like, oh, he's in a different world. He came from the regular world and now he's there. And that's only because like it's a live action adaptation. They don't necessarily have to like they have enough story to be able to build off of where if they wanted to just use like you said, Ashton, a template of a Zelda game, then they can do that. But like
I'm gonna say something a bit, bananas here. But I'm not a big Zelda fan, and I've watched other people play it in the past, but I've never like fully played a Zelda game myself. I think I did play some of Breath of the Wild a while back. It just wasn't really for me. I didn't grow up playing it. It wasn't my jam. But what I can say is that as a person who hasn't really been a huge fan, I'm excited to see it because it's for people who so I do play games, but I'm not the target audience for the games, I guess. So as a live action thing, that's exciting for me. However, there is a level of like live action can be really hard to pull off when you're looking at pretty cringy stuff, as in it looks cringy in live action. When you have it animated and it looks a certain way and all the stuff is kind of together, the seamlessness makes it much more believable. But when people throw things in that just seem it's a bit jarring. Like the only thing I can really relate it to right now in my head is Transformers. What a ridiculously stupid idea, right? Like stupid. But you have that stuff in a cartoon and it's like, yeah, I can believe that a bit more. You know, that works for me. But you put it in live action, I'm like, this is dumb. This is stupid. So I just enjoy. I think I'd enjoy it if it was animated more. I don't know how I'm going to feel about seeing it in live action.
They gotta get the hat right.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, the whole long thing.
Yeah, it has the problem I think of being in live action that either they go all in on the Zelda aesthetic and try and match it to the games, and it potentially looks a little bit silly, or they try and make it look a bit more real, a bit more believable, and just becomes a bit generic.
Yeah, that's the thing. Zelda has such wide variety of artistic styles, from cartoonish to realistic. Like, you know, Twilight Princess is probably the most real that it's ever looked, I would say, probably. Just proportion wise, colors, the way things look. Like, you know, you pick up, you know, a frog and it looks like a frog. It doesn't look like some cartoon, hyper stylized, cel shaded thing, you know. But then you have like Breath of the Wild, which looks really beautiful in a different art style. Or you have Wind Waker that's super cartoony. So they can do a lot with it. I just, it's going to be hard for them to figure out what style they're going for, because it also matters if they go for like an epic story that takes itself seriously, or if they try to make it a comedy of some kind, because that's going to be a big deal. Because you can make Zelda work as a comedy. It's not like a game, you know, that lacks comedy. There's tons of silly stuff in there, from a guy in a windmill that has like a sound box that's just going doing that number, like making the Song of Storms, or like, you know, walking into a small little building and just rolling on all the pots and breaking them, and the guy being like, "What are you doing, my pots?" Like, there's silly stuff in it, but like, you know, the story of Zelda herself, Ganon or Ganondorf, and you know, it's important to people. And I just wonder how much they're gonna, you know, play around with it. Nintendo takes their properties pretty seriously. You know, they tend to take a lot of care with them, but you know, once they're in a director's hands, who really knows? But at this point, I am curious. I do want to shout out one thing, because we talk a lot about how video games are adapted into movies and TV, but there are other mediums beyond that, right? And I guess one that I really want to bring up is just like video games being put into books, right? Because that's a big thing, right? That's been a big thing for a long time. Halo has a bunch of books. Warcraft has a lot of books. There's even like Ready Player One, which is,
there it is.
You know, a book that you got the whole collection up there.
And you have
like Ready Player One, which is a sort of its own story that it isn't based on a singular game, but uses a lot of pop culture around video games into it. That of course later got adapted into a movie, but whatever. I wonder if you guys, like, you know, obviously Nicole, could you start us off here? Experience with video games being adapted into books, how you feel about them, and what do they do for you, and like, what's the best kind of that adaptation? Because I feel like there's probably the cheap ones that you kind of forget about, but then there's ones that like probably really enhance the world and lore of the games you already love. So how do you feel about all that stuff?
So I love books. But one of the things that I find is very difficult is when you're bringing something from a world that already exists outside the book and putting it into the book, because so many things are trying to do the reverse. You're trying to take something very simple on a piece of paper with your imagination and slap it into TV or film or game or whatever. But when you're doing the reverse, it's kind of bizarre, because I'm so used to experiencing video games with a whole team behind it, behind the artistry, behind the music, behind everything, and kind of setting up the moments. So it's always kind of weird when I'm experiencing, for example, the Halo novels. I put on the Halo soundtrack and I try and read them like that. But there is a slight disconnect where I enjoy them slightly less than the game, only because I'm not an active participant in it like I'm used to. So it's a bit like, oh, but. And there are some that I like some books and I don't like others. One I'm going to say I don't like much at all is The Flood, I believe. Yep, the second one, The Flood, which is just Halo 1 again, but with like some extended stuff, some Covenant perspective. I was like, it's all right. I mean, but I can just go play Halo 1 again. I mean, I didn't see the point in this adaptation. This was pointless for me. But like The Fall of Reach, the first one, that book is fantastic because it captures the Fall of Reach, the what happened just before Halo 1, Master Chief as a character, how he got where he was, the Spartan program. There's so many layers to it that the Halo games don't have time to go into, which is what would have been perfect for a live action adaptation. They did do an animated one, which was really good. I enjoyed that a lot. And so more of that'd be great. But I do think that it is very weird going from such a big, fantastic game and then going down into a book. Sometimes it feels like a downgrade, but books are cheaper to make than games. So if I want to get my good big story and they don't have the budget to make like a bajillion Halo games about all these little side stories, good, feed them to me in my books, I'll take them. They did one for about Buck going from an ODST to a Spartan between ODST and 5. Shame 5 was so bad. And I really loved that. I thought that was a very cool middle story. So it connects the dots a bit, but yeah, it's weird. But it sometimes it's really well done, sometimes it's a bit poo-poo. So yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't actually have that much experience with the reverse. I don't tend to read a lot of books. But the way that I've always seen it is that the book, like when they do it in reverse with a game, franchise, or an IP being put into a book that was originally a movie, TV show, or game, that is more for the people that don't really plan on playing the game or watching the movie or the TV show. Maybe maybe after reading it they might look into it, but like a lot of the time I just always felt like those type of books were more for people that weren't looking to get into it. That was for a new audience, a different audience.
Because it's like Star Wars does that a lot, right? Where each movie has a book version, but I know people go nuts for those because they'll
I read
expand.
Them,
I love them.
They'll like expand on certain scenes and add stuff that especially in the prequels that they just didn't put in there because they're bad.
Yeah,
but
they're often based on draft versions as well. So
like episode 3, that was mad.
Yeah. And of course, I honestly, staying at the Halo thing, Halo has a lot of adaptations. Like there's Halo, there's the books, there's the TV show, obviously, that we've, beat like a dead horse at this point. There's the games, and then there's also like a bunch of like animated shows and stuff that I've seen and are honestly not even that bad.
They did a live adaptation, which is Halo 4 Forward Unto Dawn and Nightfall and stuff. Yeah.
Right.
So Halo 4 Forward Unto Dawn was awesome. That was like one of the most perfect type like ways to, because they were connecting the Lasky from Halo 4 and 5 into Master Chief's story, kind of giving them a bit of a history and adding to that, and it was so good. And you got to see Halo before. It was the perfect blend of what I'd want the adaptations to be. So yeah.
I think Halo's always had the hard straw there, because for Halo 3 they did all of those live action trailers, and the Landfall trailer that was directed by Neil Blomkamp, that was supposed to be the pilot for a Halo film and ended up becoming District 9. That trailer is still incredible to this day, of what a gritty live action version of Halo could be. And I think that just set the bar so high for what Halo can do in live action that it is unbelievable. But to swing back towards the books, I also are quite a big fan of adaptations in books. I love the Warcraft books and the comic books for Warcraft as well. And I think they're done best when they're supplemental to the games. The Warcraft books, it does have books that go over the events of the Warcraft games, as well as the expansions. And it also has far, far, far more books that are just supplemental stories, little additions to characters, a little bit of extra side quests that they've gone on that you never see in game, is barely even mentioned in game, or does have one or two references to it, but they've ended up being some of the most iconic characters and most iconic stories in the franchise. Or a book like the Rise of the Lich King novel, which is basically an adaptation of Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne expansion, but it goes into so much more detail about Arthas's life and the decisions he makes to become a villain that it enhances the games as well. And I think that's the best way to do it, because I read the adaptation of God of War into a book, and it was just God of War as a book told from Mimir's perspective.
I don't see the point.
Yeah. What was the point? It was boring.
Yeah.
So
yeah, agree. I think there's so many, especially once games get big enough, extra books and little mini series and things like that that kind of really help flesh out the world. And they're obviously not meant for a general audience because they're not marketed as big as or have the production behind them as like a Last of Us show or something. But they're there for the mega fans of that thing to go and sink their teeth into more of it if they really, really love it. And I always think that's really cool. Like I go back to Halo Legends, that animated mini series, and I always thought that was pretty good. So really cool stuff. You can kind of get into a weird conversation about like Witcher and how, Witcher is an adaptation of the books, but then they adaptate that into the TV show in a weird way, but then that also helps with the games, and they see huge sales on it. So I think it's fair to say that these adaptations aren't going away anytime soon. They are clearly, when they work, they're massive successes. We see the stories pop up how, Witcher, the sales skyrocketed once the show came out, or Last of Us, same deal. Like these Fallout, exactly. Like they show results and they're gonna still keep coming. And so to end off this conversation, I want to ask you guys, if you could pick any game to get an adaptation, you could say film or TV, whichever one you prefer. What would you pick to get adapted, and what would it look like in your ideal world?
What a question. What a question. You're some sort of monster.
And try, if you can, obviously we don't know all the ins and outs of everything, but if you can, try not to say something that we know exists already. Like if you said Zelda, come on now. But like there's also like Elden Ring, who we don't have anything 100% confirmed right now, but we know that they're gonna do extra stuff because they've said they want to adapt it into other media. So I'm not gonna say Elden Ring, even though that would be a really good answer. But that's something that's forthcoming, as you can imagine.
I do have some things, plural, but two of them feel like cheating. So what I will say is Alan Wake, apparently they are working on doing that. Remedy has teamed up with some people to do an adaptation, a TV show. I would love it. It would just have Twin Peaks, Stephen King vibes all over the gaff. So obviously massive fan, I would want that. But it's already kind of coming, so I can kind of just, eat my words. Shut up, Nicole, because whatever. But I think if I had to pick something that I would want to see adapted, it might be like Dishonored.
Ooh, okay.
I've always liked Dishonored's story. I've always, there's an overarching plot line, even though they give you choice. They don't really give you choice. They every game afterwards they choose what you would have chosen, because sequels are hard when you get choices and when they don't want to put the work in. But I think that Dishonored is fantastic, and I would love to see that weird, creepy world in live action. It's a bit steampunky, bit dingy. It's like a rotten England. I'm a big fan. So yeah, I'd love to see that as an adaptation, or Prey. Anything kind of arcane that isn't Redfall. I want that noted. So
that's actually I you pulled up a good couple of them, because like Prey. We don't see a whole lot of horror games adapted, right? Like, I feel like that's a very more rare thing. So that could be cool to see how they adapt a horror game and that feeling of actually playing it into a movie or TV show. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Honestly, for me, I would say, of course, I'm going to say this, Jack and Daxter. That would actually be kind of an interesting one.
Live action? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, either could work.
Oh, I guess you could. Yeah, Jack isn't like, he's kind of humanoid.
Yeah, Jack is humanoid. And then CG for Daxter.
Right.
But like flat out, like an actual adaptation of Jack and Daxter, because it just has just enough like the thing is, like, one thing I don't know is like, one of the things they could do, for example, is pad out what happened between 2 and 3. because we literally don't know what the hell happened. But alternatively, it could just be a anthology TV series. There's just a regular like day for Jack and Daxter, like after like it, whether it's in the city or before when it's just in the regular like in that original in one. It could be an interesting thing. But note that I'm acknowledging it as something where it's like better off if they just do their own thing. Another one that I think like, but let's face it, we know this is a thing, but keeps like on and off again. Sly Cooper still has that. It's like this. Is it coming out? I don't know anymore. So again,
Probably
I guess
not.
similar
But if they
to
could bring it back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like that would be nice. Although granted, like it, how are they gonna do it at this point? I don't know, because they keep not necessarily saying it's not coming, but I don't know. PlayStation, they really like to do the whole like quietly cancel things. Just look at Wild. Um,
That seems like something that could work in like a cartoon TV show or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Slap it on like Cartoon Network or something.
Yep. Exactly. Well, maybe not Cartoon Network.
Whatever you want. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. I never got into Jack and Daxter, so that'd be something that interests me to watch the adaptation and get into it. I'm going to throw a curveball one out that might be technically cheating, because I think it to some degree already exists. I'd like to see a Total War adaptation. So Nicole, you might maybe have some vague memories of this, but back in the early 2000s, there was a TV show on BBC where the second season was hosted by Richard Hammond called Time Commanders.
Yes. Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah. And essentially it had a team of like 5 contestants that would act as a general and commanders of like the archery, infantry, and cavalry. And they would have to reenact a historical battle and try and win by issuing orders to someone playing at a PC, who would then issue those commands into a pre-release version of Rome Total War, and like basically fight historical battles. And I think I'd love to see something like that come back, because that's pretty cool.
Oh my God, I completely forgot. Yeah, this is the English TV that you should be watching.
Like a reality
Ashton.
show type thing.
Yeah, it's on YouTube now. There was 2 seasons in 2004 and 2005.
That's so cool.
And then a season in 2016.
Table that has a screen that's so cool.
Yep. They're like literally sat at like a like holographic table, and they're like issuing orders and moving pieces around the board.
Ashton can't believe that we have anything that cool over here, because England's pretty mid. So look at us.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah. What are we doing? Now we're getting like reruns of the Kardashians and everything, and it's like, where's my cool game stuff at? Yeah.
Where's my Total War TV show?
Yeah.
That's super cool. That's super unique. Well, dang, I don't know if I could top that, but
that's fair.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's on, what are you going to try and top it with? So go give it a watch.
Yeah.
Go watch it, guys. Holy shit. I think I'm going to have to watch that after this. Like, I got to see what that looks like.
Well, yeah, of course you do. Of course you do, Ashton. You're, you love history.
History guy over here.
History guy.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I can't top that, but I guess I would say a game that I really, really enjoy that has a story that I like more than the other games that this developer makes, because it was a little bit more straightforward, but still doesn't quite hit the level that I wanted it to. And that would be Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. I think that game could be, with so much of the revenge story going on with Genichiro and the little boy that you find and Ishin's story and the whole way that game progresses, I think that could be a really, like the dragon sickness or whatever the hell it was called. I think that could adapt to a really, really sick, like Japanese, like almost like shogun style samurai, except without the political stuff. It's just like a very personal, like revenge story type thing. I think that could be adapted super cool and like look really dope. And then I think we have a few that already think are supposed to come, like a Mass Effect thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I'm scared. They're touching my baby. I'm just like,
I'm not sure about that one. We have Elden Ring's gonna have stuff coming, so hopefully that expands on. I would really like an Elden Ring anime personally, or like an animated type thing.
Elden Ring has the bonus of having George R.R. Martin assisting with it, so
and there's such a cool like backstory to that world that we don't get to see.
I want to see
about it.
When
like, I want to see the gods fighting each other.
Like... Yeah, I want to see all the history. Like all we get is like you see a couple moments here, and then Melania and Radahn, and it's just like, no, I want to see all of them. I want to see them fight.
I want to see them fight.
Yeah, with the Erdtree in live action as well. That would be spectacular.
That would be spectacular. Awesome. Imagine live action. Oh.
And then last I'll say is we've already got Fallout. Fallout was great. Awesome show, probably my favorite adaptation. Maybe try Elder Scrolls. Could be cool. Mm-hmm. Same kind of style. You could do whatever story you want and just do it with Elder Scrolls. Could be cool to hit that fantasy market too.
And Bethesda, they've got the right kind of games for it, so it makes sense. I will say none of us have mentioned this today. I haven't actually watched it yet. My friends would shut up about it, and that is Arcane.
Right.
It's,
it's a shame that we haven't brought it up, but I haven't seen it either.
The thing with Arcane that I'm always told is you'll love it. It's nothing like League of Legends, and it's just like what a weird. But I guess that's what makes it so accessible to people, because so many people I know who don't play League are such big fans of it. So, and I'm not a big fan of League, but all my friends are. So that's something that's perfect for me, which I am going to be watching. So,
if we're going to bring up Arcane, we've got to bring up Castlevania too. Fantastic animated series.
It's oh my god. So I've just started it the other day. So
it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah.
Like what an incredible adaptation. And I think I don't know if it's the same team, but we're getting Devil May Cry like sometime soon. There used to be an anime Devil May Cry, and it's just like okay, but like a new Devil May Cry with all the stuff that they've done since back then, and we've got all the way through 5. That would be my right there. Like I love me some Devil May Cry. That'd be so fun. It'd be so fun.
I had it on my notes today, but I can't believe I've not brought it up. Secret Level.
Why have we not discussed Secret Level?
Yeah, that Pac-Man episode was just wild.
It's such a weird niche.
It is so weird. Pac-Man episode for an adaptation.
My uncle doesn't have time to play all the games. Warhammer. Yeah. So he's seen a lot of these, and he doesn't play Warhammer. Obviously, Pac-Man is like. Who really like plays Pac-Man, like we all, it just exists and we all know it and respect it for what it did for gaming. But I think my uncle saw Sifu, and he hasn't played the game, so he had no idea, and he was like, do you know what's happening yet? And I was like, oh yeah, I know. And then it was happening, but it was so beautiful seeing it put into like a 20-minute episode. Really good, really good.
So good.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves.
That was great. Yeah.
Like what was it? I've only watched one episode of
which one?
Unreal. The Unreal tournament.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Did you enjoy it, or were you like, nah, not for me? Okay.
Yeah, I did. I'm like, to be fair, that game is dead. So any like, now granted, I have like kicked around like, should I watch the Concord one?
Oh my god, that's what I was going to ask. You see, I haven't seen the Concord one yet, because I watched the ones that I cared about, and then I was like, I kind of want to do it, and just
Well, I mean, like literally, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, but I literally bought Concord like a day before they announced that it was shutting down.
Good job. Did you get a refund?
Yeah, no, they automatically refunded. Yeah. So, like anyone who bought it, they automatically refunded it. Which I'll give Sony that. I'll give them that. They shut down a game in 2 weeks, and we're like, hey, here's your money back.
Thank God for that. All right.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm kind of shocked I didn't bring this up, because bringing up Arcane, I think Arcane works so much because League of Legends is so like the lore is so outside the game in a way, and it's not really the point, so you can do whatever really you want with it. But Overwatch could make a great series. Like there's so much when they come out with like the comics or the animated YouTube videos that they put out when they announce a new character or whatever, they always look so good and they're so well put together. If you turn that into a long running series, that could be incredible. But I don't know, Blizzard's got their own thing going on.
You're making
me be so good at an animated show.
I'm thinking about bloody Team Fortress now and how good those shorts were when they were introducing all the different people. Oh, good great times, man. Good times.
Also, I feel like I should also mention remember that Minecraft is getting a movie?
Oh
yeah. I kind of wanted to forget about it.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Adaptations for adaptation's sake.
Yeah.
Well, I also feel like it's 10 years too late.
Yeah. I think that it doesn't. It has the possibility of being fine, but nothing more than fine. Like.
It's so off-putting.
I have no problem that Jack Black is in it. I have no problem that it is the cast of it. I don't even necessarily have a problem with the writing. Honestly, my biggest thing is that this Minecraft should have been animated.
It should have been an animated Jack Black, like voicing somebody, not being just human beings in Minecraft. It's the isekai thing. We're just putting humans in Minecraft for the sake of it. And I'm like, no, exactly. It doesn't look right.
Well, man,
they paid for those actors. They got to get them the money somehow.
Yeah,
they could have literally still had the same storyline, but guess what? More people would be okay with like a cringy dialogue if there wasn't a literal face associated to it.
Well, see, that's the thing. They've done an animated Minecraft thing before. They have like almost like a Telltale like
had Telltale,
that's just Minecraft style. The character's not real live action person. It's just Minecraft style, and like it was like it's not the biggest thing in the world, but like it's also not complete garbage.
It
trash.
works
so, like,
because it's a game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's weird. It's an adaptation of a game. But as a game,
I that's gonna be put in every. If you watch the trailer again for Minecraft the movie, so many of the shots, you can tell, and it's easy to say, oh, well, it's behind a green screen, but you can tell by the way that everyone's standing and the way that they're all positioned in specific ways to cut out the as much of like the green screen effects as possible. So like all the characters are always in a group together like this. Like they're never really spread out, and they always face forward. They very rarely like switch around. Like it's I don't know. It gives me very cheap vibes. I'm getting very like this is cheap vibes, and I'm not too hopeful for that.
Yeah,
one.
And that's fair. Yeah. I want it to be good because I do like Minecraft. But like I also know that it's going to be a very weird thing because it's going to, I feel like, have a lot of the bad things associated to these adaptations, because in the end, they're too late in making this adaptation. Like,
I don't even know if it's that, because like the Minecraft's still huge. It's still, even with like especially young kids, which this is clearly made for, it's still ginormous with them. Like playing it on the iPad, playing it on their phones, it's still massive. I just think like the way they're making it right now is not gonna work, even for the kids. Like,
yeah, exactly. I just think that it's gonna, I don't think it's going to be horrible as like some people think it will be. I think that it's just gonna be like, this didn't have to exist, but okay.
Yeah,
it's just gonna be mediocre.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty
exactly. Like of anything, that's probably gonna, because this is weird for some reason, controversial to say, but I like Jack Black, so there's a good chance I might actually see it. So,
Yeah.
We'll have to
I like that we had some organization to this, and then like right at the end, we've all been like, "Oh wait, but all these things we forgot to mention while we were going through our processes."
I needed to make a list, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Next time,
it's whatever.
Live and learn. Live and learn.
Yeah, we're still learning.
Shoot the people. Shoot.
Yeah.
But it is fun also kind of like haphazardly slapping it together because it's just like, hey, look, this isn't all pre-planned. We are just going on the roll here. So, you know, yeah.
You know, I mean, we conduct ourselves like a lot of these adaptations. Just go for it. Just, you know, good source material. Just go. Just
yeah.
go. So we'll see how the Minecraft movie ends up working out in all these adaptations going forward. But that has been the Smash Jump podcast. Let us know what you guys think about video game adaptations. What are some of your favorites, and what would you like to see adapted into a movie, TV show, or even a book or comic, whatever you prefer? Drop that in the comments down below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the Smash Jump YouTube channel. Anybody want to go ahead and plug their own little things, their socials, their own YouTubes, whatever?
So I will say also join our Patreon. You'll get early access to the podcast as well as an uncensored version. And you can follow me, Gabe _REISINGER on Twitter.
And I have got a YouTube podcast called The Wormhole Extremists for Stargate fans, which is a show that died so long ago, but we are gonna milk it dry because I love it so much.
I'm saying it really negatively. A new subscriber.
Really?
Stargate.
We haven't just Ben, bro. You okay? Since this ends, we are, bro. You're about to be my new best friend. About to be my new best friend. All right, yeah, excellent. All right, well, I've got a stream in 2 hours, so if you want to come to that, but yeah, I've got that. So Wormhole Extremists spelled wormhole, then an X, and then Tremists. Twitter didn't like that name. They were like, whoa. We were like, no. Yeah. We're just extreme for Stargate. Calm down. So that's all I got.
Yep.
I'll definitely be checking that out.
Thanks, Ben.
I don't have socials because I can never get on with social media. But if you want to, you can subscribe to my YouTube, which is Food Thought Gaming, and obviously catch me on Smash Jump.
All right, perfect. And I am Ashton Lavelle YT on YouTube, and you can check out my channel there. All right, guys, that's been the Smash Jump podcast. Hope you see you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.